Is Dallas a situation to avoid in fantasy circles? What should you look for from a fantasy standpoint in the Super Bowl? And the prognosticator himself, Alex Kaganoski, drops in for the prop bets you need to hammer this Super Bowl Sunday. Plus, the 2018 Footballguys Players Championship $15,000 second runner-up Mike Porreca hangs out with us to discuss how high he is on Alvin Kamara next season, why he waited on grabbing a tight end in his draft, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gurczak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Hey, bro. Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gurczak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gurczak.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gurczak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gurczak. Coming up on tonight's show, are we about to witness Rob Gronkowski's last game, how high we are on Saquon Barkley for 2019, and 2018 FPC $15,000 third-place winner Mike Porreca helps us preview the Super Bowl along with the prognosticator, giving you his prop bets to play and more. Dave, I actually was emailing with the prognosticator earlier today. I want to welcome in Dave Gurczak to the show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Want to make sure your mic is on there. I'm not sure if I turned it on. Yep. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
Sorry.
great. I'm still great.
Good. I'm glad. I was emailing the prognosticator
Did
earlier today.
Did he tell you what he kind of wanted to do a little bit more? Or?
What do you mean?
We had a private conversation where he said, if you want me to talk more about the philosophy behind the way I do a lot of these things.
Oh.
Because, he kind of mentioned a lot of these clowns on, like, Sirius XM who pretend that they know what they're doing, totally don't know what they're doing.
I've sensed that from listening to a lot of Sirius XM in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly. So, he could actually get into more of the philosophy as well as probably recent process.
Yeah.
But I think that, so we can keep him on, I have to see him like 12, 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, at least 15, hopefully.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to put that out there. I was supposed to talk to you about it earlier.
I wouldn't worry about it. I think we're going to let it, we're always blessed anytime we get the prognosticator on. We're going to let him take it the way he wants. Anyway.
He's the boss.
I had some props that I posted that I liked, which I mentioned on the show with Leo Balky today.
Great.
And we're going to run those by Alex tonight. He said he was actually already on a few of them. So he said, I'm not sure if that's good or bad for you or me or both.
Right, yeah.
So we'll find out.
Very good. That's cool.
So that'll be fun tonight. I want to remind everybody that if you are looking in for some year-round fantasy football fun, go to myffpc.com. Check out the Orphan Dynasty Leagues that we have posted up there. Some of them have been selling, fairly quickly after they post. Some of them have been up there for a couple of weeks, and the prices have been lowered. So check that out right now and see if there's anything that you want to get involved in. We won't have any startup leagues this year unless until all the orphans are sold out. So your best bet if you want to get involved in Dynasty is picking up one of these orphans right now. Fantastic deals out there too. Really good stuff for you if you want to play Dynasty. That is where to go. If you want to play for best ball, for 2019, same website, myffpc.com. We've had best balls up for about 2 weeks now, I think. We'll actually be referencing our 2019 FFPC best ball ADP throughout the broadcast tonight as well. Real ADP from real money leagues.
With real rookies.
With real rookies, 80 of them. It might actually probably more than 80 now.
We're on 100 now.
Yeah, 100 rookies or so. Do we have, I have a question. Do we have the rookie kickers in, Dave? Do we have any rookie kickers in there?
I think we did put some in the first place.
All right.
And we also added someone today. Somebody at the Bears signed some dude.
Okay.
I don't know, Durbin Kinwood or some crap.
Oh, Durbin Kinwood.
I don't even know. I'll look up his name.
Maybe it's Curbin Dinwood. We don't know.
That sounds closer.
He actually will be in the player pool and eligible for drafting. We have super flexes, double ups, and best balls all at myffpc.com. $35, $77, $250 levels right now. So check that out. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we released the registration for who was it?
Redford Jones.
Redford Jones.
Same thing.
At least we were close. We released the registration for Genesis, Revelations, and the Live on High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour drafts. Those have since all been filled, so I'm not announcing that tonight. However, for the first time ever, we are launching a third 150 Classic that is drafting on the same night as Genesis and Revelations, Dave. Is that can you confirm that?
Yes, it is, actually.
Same night. And it is called the Apocalypse League.
Chris helped me with that one. You didn't provide any feedback, so Chris's vote.
Here's the thing. I feel like we were going to do a best ball battle between Genesis and Revelations a few years ago, and we were going to call it the Apocalypse League. Oh, yeah. So when Chris said that, I was like, well, yeah, I think that's what we were going to go with a couple years ago. That never materialized, so I thought that was perfect. Listen, I'm not going to create a new idea when the first one already knocked it out of the park. I think we have, how many spots available on that? 8, 9, 10? Something? 10 spots available on that, so sign up for that. And I believe the plan is to cover that draft at least partially on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour that night as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our very patient guest who has not only been on the phone line for a while. This is a guy that I've wanted to have on the show for some time. I'm very excited to bring him on tonight. He's just enjoyed his second top 8 overall finish in the Footballguys Players Championship within the last 5 years. He placed 11th overall in the FFPC main event back in 2016. He's here tonight to talk about his third place overall finish in the 2018 FPC and the $15,000 prize that came with it. Please welcome onto these airwaves for the first time, finally, it is Mr. Mike Porreca. Mike, welcome into the show, man, and happy Super Bowl weekend.
Eric and Dave, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
You are coming through A-OK, Mike. It's listen, you've had a lot of success in the FFPC over the years, and finally we get you on, and it just took until February of 2019, like we planned it all along.
It was worth the wait. It's an honor to finally be on your show.
Well, that's excellent to hear. When you are not doing very well in the FPC and the main event, can you tell the listeners and us what you're doing for a living?
Yeah, I'm a pharmaceutical rep. I've been a drug rep for like the last 20 years.
Nice.
Now, that's not a fancy moniker for drug dealer, is it?
Yeah, no.
Okay, good.
Prescription drugs.
It's all on the up and up.
Drugs only. Yes.
Perfect.
That's right. They have their own lobbyists and corporations.
Right.
It's the profit.
Oh, it's big. It's big. Yeah.
It's not the backwards way.
Yeah, it is. Listen, we all want to be regulated, Dave. That's the big thing.
Up and better.
We all want to be in a regulated industry, so everything is on the up and up. And I'll tell you what else is on the up and up, Dave. Mike's performance in the FPC this year.
Yeah, you took third place, $15,000. Sorry, it wasn't more.
You don't have to always apologize.
Well, I mean, I'd like it to be like 50.
I would too.
Anyway, so after you drafted this team, we've asked people this before. Did you take a look at it and you're like, wow, this team is pretty awesome. I think they might have a shot to really finish high.
Yeah, I was happy with the top 4. Obviously, everybody has like their top list, and and each kind of tier who you want to hit. And I definitely, when I got picked 5, I knew there was, a good chance I would get Kamara, and I was hoping for Adams coming back in the second round, so that went to plan. And getting Juju in the 4th, I was happy. So from there on in, it was like gravy. Now I just got to add on.
Yeah, that's nice.
We're interviewing a lot of the people who had success in 2018, Mike, and I look at a lot of these draft boards when I'm researching for the show to kind of look at how you built or how everybody built these teams. And I got to tell you, not that they're all blending in, but I will say for a lot of these teams, they looked very similar to the team that you had built. I mean, you really played the hits here with a lot of the guys that you had in your squad. I mean, you already mentioned a couple of them with Kamara in the 1st, then you come back with Devontae Adams in the 2nd, and then you had Juju in the 4th. I think has been really, really popular as far as those players go this year. Juju, man, was huge this past year, and I don't know if because it was his second year in the league. I don't think we're going to see a receiver who was a rookie this past season that could maybe assume the title of the 2019 version of Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, maybe Calvin Ridley, maybe DJ Moore, but I really don't see either of those guys doing what Juju did this past year, Mike.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing. I think it was the last Steeler preseason game, or third or fourth, and they just went no huddle, up tempo, like the whole first quarter, and that's what I made up my mind. I'm like, yeah, I want a piece of as many Steelers as I can. I figured Ben was going to air it out this year, and once Lev held out, then that just made the receivers more valuable, even though Connor did well.
Yeah, and Connor too. I mean, he had a great season, but this was one of Ben Roethlisberger's best season ever as a pro. I mean, 5,000 plus yardage. I've been looking at the team now that you assembled here. Kamara, Adams, and you went Joe Mixon in the third, Juju Smith-Schuster in the fourth. Obviously, you get Derrick Henry in the fifth, who was beastly down the stretch.
Oh, he was huge.
Deion Lewis, Corey Davis, George Kittle was your 8th round pick, and I think we're going to get into that in a little bit. But let's get back to Kamara at the 5. You had the opportunity to draft at the 105, Mike. Antonio Brown, you could have gone with DeAndre Hopkins. Melvin Gordon was out there as well. I don't think he was really going in the mid-first, but, maybe some people were considering him there. You went with Alvin Kamara, and I don't want to seem like that was, this out-of-nowhere pick, because a lot of people were taking him at the 105. But as you look forward to this coming year, Mark Ingram's going to be a free agent. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with Antonio Brown. Melvin Gordon said he's waiting to sign an extension to see what Le'Veon Bell does. Is Kamara the guy that you would take over all three of those guys again in 2019 drafts?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, if Ingram isn't there, I think we all saw what he did when he was the only show in town this first 4 weeks. I went all in on Kamara the year before. After seeing him in the preseason, I was like, all right, I don't care if they have Peterson and Ingram. He's always hurt. I got Kamara on almost every team I had. I had him on like 4 of my 5 main event teams. So the previous year, same thing. If you look at all those top teams from the previous year, they all had Kamara on there because they all got him like the 11th, 12th, 13th round.
All right, so we're going to play a little Would You Rather.
Okay, this is probably, Dave, you and I are of the same mind here. I totally
want to do this.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's say...
So this is who would you rather draft in 2019?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
It's
right.
your choice, and this player is on the board. Let's see, we'll start with...
Let's say you've narrowed it down to these 2 players. Which one are you taking?
Ezekiel Elliott or Kamara.
And Ingram's not there?
Yeah, let's say for the sake of argument, Ingram signs with somebody else. Like, so it's Kamara in the backfield. They added like a day 3 guy in the draft, something like that. So no real threat to Kamara touches.
Yeah, it'd be real tough. I mean, obviously, if I had 2 teams picking the same spot, I would take one in each of them just to cover my bet. But
All right.
I'd probably go with Kamara just because Breeze, I don't think he has the downfield arm strength anymore, and I mean he just seems to lock in on these short passes. So, maybe 60-40 Kamara.
All right, very good. And let's go to Todd. I may or may not be injured. Gurley.
Ooh, this is a good one. Gurley or Kamara? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
Kamara.
I mean, up until week 12, it was Gurley, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's mental, physical. I'm hoping something comes out later that he was actually hurt, but as of right now with C.J. Anderson that's playing the majority of the snaps, I'd have to go Kamara unless we know something else is going on with Gurley.
Fair enough. All right, 2 more. We're going to go with this one. For a lot of people, this won't be a hard one, but we're going to see if it's hard for you. Saquon Barkley.
Or Kamara.
I'm
always
taking
Kamara.
Yeah.
Barkley.
And the last one I know Dave's going after you.
And my wonderful boyfriend from Stanford, Christian McCaffrey.
I'd still have to go Kamara. McCaffrey.
How dare you?
He looked amazing. I don't know if he can stay healthy with that kind of workload. 30 touches every game.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Here's the larger discussion here. We've often talked about certain years of fantasy football not knowing. Maybe the 101 was a slam dunk, but if it wasn't, it was usually like this guy or this guy.
Sure.
In rare occasions, very rare occasions, maybe it was this guy, or a third guy. Dave, this next season, for the sake of argument, let's say Ingram signs somewhere else, you're going to have Elliott, Kamara, Barkley, McCaffrey, Gurley. You're going to have if Le'Veon.
You said Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, I don't think Melvin Gordon would be in, but Le'Veon Bell would be involved in the first pick overall.
First pick overall.
Depending upon where he goes, maybe.
I'm just talking about, I'm sorry, you meant the first pick overall.
First overall pick,
I'm
yeah.
looking at the first round. I think it's a really deep round.
Yeah, and then it's going to be like, okay, well, when do we start cracking the receivers open here after these running backs? You know, at what point, you know, is DeAndre Hopkins again? Right. Well, I should bring this up right now. In FFPC best ball draft, DeAndre Hopkins is the first receiver going on average at the 107. But as the sixth overall player drafted, that's kind of weird. But he's going behind Barkley, Gurley, Elliott, McCaffrey, and Kamara. So you're having all those guys, and then actually Melvin Gordon right after that. Plus James Conner is going up to 111 too. That's interesting. Let's get into the tight end conversation.
Yeah, it wouldn't be FFPC if you want to talk about tight ends a little bit. You happen to pick a guy that I didn't draft at all because I'm an idiot. George Kittle. Great choice. I don't know why I didn't pick Kittle anywhere. Anyway, you didn't stumble upon greatness. That's what the question says. You're obviously smart. You took him in the 8th round, and do you plan on following a similar strategy in your drafts this season? And if you do, is there anyone you're eyeballing already early February here?
No, I mean, I know it's tight end premium for your format, but I rarely ever start 2 tight ends. I typically will hammer running backs and receivers, and I try to get a late flyer on somebody that can be my, tight end and outperform his ADP. This past year it was Kittle, Ebron, and Hooper were the 3 I was kind of targeting for that, 8th through 12th round. But unfortunately, I panicked and cut Hooper and most of the ones I drafted him because they started off slow. But yeah, Ebron really exceeded everybody's expectations. It was crazy.
Hey, let me ask you a question about Ebron, because I have. Go ahead. Well, I'll let you finish, because I have an Ebron question. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I had Ebron in a few leagues in Kentucky, and I ended up getting whipsawed on him a few times where, he had his great game, so I started him, he had a bad game, and eventually he had a good game. And I feel like I only got 50% of Ebron's awesomeness this year. Or did you have that issue at all, or you just roll him out the whole time?
I just rolled him out the whole time, and I with the whole quarterback situation with San Fran and, Kittle had been injury prone, and I always liked him, but I was keeping Ebron in. So I remember week 14 is finally when I benched Ebron and started Kittle, and Kittle dropped 200. It was that game he went crazy, 200 yards in the first half or something. And that's when I pretty much said, yeah, and Ebron started laying goose eggs down the stretch, so it wound up working out okay.
Third place overall in the Football Guys Players Championship this past season. It is Mike Porreca joining Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on a Super Bowl weekend in 2019. At what point, Mike, did you, as you're following, I know you have a bunch of teams, but you're following this and obviously was doing very well, 10-1 in the regular season in the Football Guys Players Championship before you moved on to the championship round. At what point in the season did you kind of think hey, this team has the opportunity not only to hang around near the top of the overall leaderboard, but maybe take down the grand prize?
Not really during the regular season because I was so deep. I was constantly leaving points from the bench. I had Lindsey, Tyler Boyd. I could never make the right call with those guys. And, I love Aaron Jones. I kept starting Aaron Jones for the first, whatever. As soon as he got back in, I kept starting him in weeks 4 through 6. And McCarthy wouldn't give him the ball. So I seemed to never start the right guys on that team all year until once it was after that week 14 week when all of a sudden Henry went nuts against Jacksonville and Kittle went nuts. And I was like, this team might have a shot. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to this team because my one other team finished the regular season 9th overall. That was the team I thought it was loaded. I thought it had a legit shot. But everybody who had Connor pretty much saw their hopes go down. I lost Connor, Odell, and that team kind of fizzled out. So, yeah, once Henry went off, I was like, okay, go ahead.
So, Mike, let me ask you about Henry a little bit. So, Henry he didn't do much, and then he had that massive week. Was that week 13, and then you started in week 14 where you also had another great week, or did you actually start him the first week that he went crazy?
No, I didn't start him that first week because I remember looking at the leaderboard, and because my one team was 9th overall, so I was checking the leaderboard, and I'm like, look at all these guys who started Henry against Jacksonville. I would have never thought to do that, but it was the following week. if I had started him that week, then I probably would have won. I don't know, but I didn't have the guts to start him. Yeah.
Right, and you had a deep team. But it's interesting because actually, when I remember the week after the first one, and I think almost everyone, I have Henry on a dynasty team. I did not start him that week either. But the following week, I looked at a lot of the rankings, whether it's Football Guys, Draft Sharks, or whatever, and they still had Henry in the mid to low 20s, and I'm like, dude, Henry just seems reawoken. To me, he felt like he should have been more of a top 10, top 12 back, and he wasn't. I felt he wasn't ranked properly. I ended up starting him where I could, and it looks like you did too. So that was a really good move on your part. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, I remember he was playing the Giants. It was a rainy game. I was it was a setup for him to get 30 touches. I don't know what. I was looking at the same rankings because I had, Lindsey, all these other guys that could start. I was really deep at running back, and I'm like, I don't care. I can't not start Henry and watch him get 30 carries and run roughshod over the Giants.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
They were big favorites, and it's this is a game that he should kill it.
Yeah.
And that leads into it, Dave, with the whole Ebron. I know you guys we were discussing Eric Ebron before with Derrick Henry, and I don't know if there was any kind of call to action like, hey, I got to find a way to get Eric Ebron in my starting lineup in Week 16. Like, was there how difficult was it to sit him there? I mean, with the season that he had already put out there for you, it was a good problem to have because you had a lot of excellent players. Ultimately, though, Ebron found his way on your bench. I'm just curious sort of your thought process on that.
Yeah, well, I almost started him because I lost Aaron Jones and Tyler Boyd in Week 15, so I was down to nothing. I was like, oh man, I don't have anything left. And there was that rumor that Rodgers might not play, and I was like, I have Devontae Adams, and if Rodgers doesn't play Week 16, he stinks. And Juju pulled a hamstring on a Thursday practice. He was questionable. I was down to nothing, but I would have had to start him maybe.
Oh man.
But I looked at the top 5 teams. 4 of the top 5 teams all had Kittle, and I was second going into the final week, and I think 8 of the top 10 all had Kittle on there. So I was debating that might make them, if I bench Kittle and he lays a goose egg and I start Ebron, that could be the differentiator. But I was like, what, I got too much to lose. I was like, I'll keep pace with everybody else. If everybody has Kittle, I know if I have Kittle, I'm going to keep pace with everybody, and just figured I had between Henry. I had a couple of other guys, Henry and Lindsey. I'm like, maybe that'll make up the difference somewhere else.
Yeah, it's always it's a tough decision when you have that level of talent, when you're trying to make up moves in that final week. There's really no easy way to do it. I think you handle it about as well as anybody could have, for sure. Moving on here, Mike, it is Super Bowl weekend. It is the Rams taking on the Patriots. Super Bowl 53 coming up Sunday night. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts. I know the preparation for the game has taken its toll on anybody who listens to sports talk radio, and hearing everybody talk about this one game basically for 2 weeks on end. Do you have anything that you want to share about how you see this game going, or a prediction that you want to make of who is going to be the next Super Bowl champion?
Well, I think the Patriots are going to win just based on experience, but the blueprint's there on how to beat the Patriots. All the Patriots assistants who take jobs somewhere else, they all beat the Patriots by pressuring Brady up the middle, and the Rams are set up there with Sue and Donald to give him pressure up the middle. But I don't know if Goff's going to be able to do what it takes. If Gurley's not 100% healthy, I don't know if they can put the game in Goff's hands and have him beat Belichick.
Yeah, we don't have really a spot, Dave, where you and I are making predictions on this, but I do have the Patriots winning 26-23 on Sunday night. That is my bold prediction for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, pretty good.
The Pats and the under is what I'm looking at.
All right, I can see that happening.
Yeah. What do you see happening?
I haven't really thought about all that closely, to be truthful. It's almost impossible for me to bet against Belichick and Brady at this point. But even given that, the public knows all that, right? And they're only favored by 2.5?
Yeah.
The fact that it's not 3 is a little bit troubling to me, actually, if I'm the Patriots factor. Because a lot of times, my buddy Leroy and I used to always say this, 2.5s and 3.5s, not only don't they win, not only don't they cover, they don't even win a lot of times.
Right, yeah.
So to take the dog with a +2.5 or +3.5, a lot of times works out. So I might have to take the Rams. I might have to lean Rams on it if I'm betting them.
Yeah, interesting.
You know what? I think I am going to bet on.
There you go. Well, okay, before we'll get into some more Super Bowl talk later on in the show, but as long as we have Mike here, there were a couple of emails that came in for you, Mike, and I wanted to read them and have you answer them here. And actually, this is a Patriots question right away. Tom in Peeber, South Dakota. Hi, Mike. Do you expect the Patriots to remain an elite offense next year again with Brady coming back with Edelman, Michelle, and White? Thank you for the email, Tom in Peeber, South Dakota. As we look forward to 2019, Mike, do you see much changing on New England? I mean, I know there's rumors that Gronk may be retiring, but, you know, Edelman, White, Michelle, Brady, these guys should all be back. How do you view the Patriots offense next season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would only want Edelman, White, and Michelle. They have to bring somebody else in on the outside. It's a shame Josh Gordon couldn't straighten things out and be a part of that offense. But as long as they have McDaniels there, I mean, they're going to be effective. And it's just, you never know. They got 3 running backs there, and it's just like, at least hopefully Michelle gets to be more of a part of the passing game next year. He could be a monster.
And he might be a monster indeed, for sure. One more email before we get to the next question for you here, Mike. Bill in Norcross, Georgia. Is it crazy to think that Patrick Mahomes throws another 50 touchdowns again in 2019 and that Damian Williams, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce are all huge studs again? Congrats on the FPC. That is Bill in Norcross, Georgia. Thank you for the email. Bill, your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs as we look to the 2019 season with that dominant offense, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, just based on his skill set, I don't see any reason why he can't. But, I mean, history shows typically they will regress. But, I mean, everybody's going to want a piece of Hill, Kelce, Damian Williams. I mean, Watkins missed half the year. If he can stay healthy, it's another weapon. So I think everybody's going to want a piece of the Chiefs offense next year. And I hope they do it. They're exciting. I mean, I love high-scoring offenses of fantasy football.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I got to tell you, I love this. I love watching the Chiefs play. Mahomes is so great. Question here. So we need to know, because Balky and I can't think for ourselves. We always take advice.
We can think for ourselves. We would rather take advice from people much smarter than us.
So we're going to write this down, and we'd like you to give us a player you'll be staying away from in the early rounds. This is for redraft purposes, not dynasty. Early rounds next season, and a sleeper that is poised to break out in 2019. Getting my pen out.
People, I mean, I guess avoid maybe next year is one is A.J. Green. I think his body's breaking down. It's a shame, but I think Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon will be more part of the offense. And I don't know. I always liked A.J. Green. I like his skill set, but I don't know. Every year he's hurt by the end of the year, and you got Dalton gets hurt, and you just can't count on him in the playoffs.
What about a guy that's maybe a mid-round pick or anybody, any sleeper that's flying under the radar that you think will continue to fly under the radar for 2019 draft?
I don't know if he'll fly under the radar, but if he's healthy, I'd like to see what McKinnon can do in that Kyle Shanahan 49er offense, because he just makes any running back, you know, instantly valuable. And, you know, with his skills, he's perfect for that. I mean, he really should be, you know, top 24 pick if he's healthy with that offense around him.
You know, what's interesting about that let me just this is an interesting. Okay, let me just tell you this right now. An FFPC best ball draft.
You're gonna get this out sooner or later.
Yeah, sorry. Every time I stop reading, I'm like, oh, there's this guy too. Right now, Jerick McKinnon is going at the 507 in best ball drafts. Now that is the exact same ADP as Kareem Hunt and Chris Carson. They're all going at the 507 right now on average. That is one spot behind James White, and it is 7 spots ahead of Mark Ingram. So that is a little interesting end of the 5th round there with Hunt, McKinnon, and Carson all, you know, bunched up between James White and Mark Ingram. Very compelling stuff. It's very early yet, but this is the kind of stuff we like talking about on this show for sure. Mike Porreca, the 3rd place winner in the Football Guys Players Championship, joining us tonight. Before I let you go, Mike, one last question. $15,000, that is a nice return on your entry fee to the FPC. Do you have those funds earmarked for something fun, perhaps reinvestment into more fantasy leagues? What are your plans with that cash?
Yeah, definitely reinvesting in more fantasy drafts, but hopefully I can make it out to Vegas next year for your big draft party. And we're going to go out to Cancun with a girlfriend in a couple of months, take a nice vacation, get ready
Oh, that's
for the
awesome.
NFL draft.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, yeah, that's cool, man.
That is the way to do it, and it is the way to do it having Mike Porreca on your High Stakes Fantasy Football podcast. We certainly appreciated you coming on tonight, Mike. Best of luck to you in 2019. Enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday. Enjoy the Cancun vacation, and best of luck in draft season, dude. Thanks for popping on the show.
Thanks a lot, and you guys stay warm out there in your polar vortex.
It's awful.
We'll do our best. I might have to put on a jacket sooner or later, Mike.
Let's just
right.
wear a fleece vest.
Yeah, that's basically it. All right, dude, be good. We'll talk again soon.
All right, have a good night. See ya.
Mike Porreca, ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl weekend. We bring out the heavy hitters. Third place in the FPC. Had a lot of success. I mean, 11th place in the main event before.
He's a great player.
Already finished. I mean, this is his second top 8 overall finish in the FPC in the last 5 years. So, I mean, he knows where it's at. Good stuff from him.
That's right. By the way, if you have a polar fleece vest, it doesn't protect you from the polar vortex, right?
No, it does not. It absolutely does not.
What's it, Gore-Tex vest?
I'm going to tell you.
It's too hard to say, Gore-Tex vest.
Yeah, it is difficult to say. I'm going to tell you this. We got a couple of minutes here. The prognosticator, Alex Kaganovsky, joining us in about 15 minutes or so here.
Where is he going to be on the ski hill in Vermont? Alex spends his weekend skiing.
Well, as long as we're talking about skiing, let me tell you about. So I knew we were going to get a lot of snow this week. I knew we were going to be very cold. I rarely wear gloves when I go outside because typically if I'm outside in this weather, unless I'm shoveling snow, then I wear gloves. But I'm just walking from my car to a building to my car, what have you. Now, granted, I park a little bit further away at my quote-unquote day job, and so it is a little bit of a hike to get in. But Dave,
he's an obsessive walker.
My fingers, the tips of my fingers would wrinkle up as if I was in the pool for like a half hour or an hour. That's how cold it got. So then I had to break up.
Walking outside?
And I wasn't wearing gloves. So finally on Tuesday, I finally started wearing gloves, and then it got a little bit better.
By the way, one of the brands that we carry, the team, sells gloves.
Right. Yeah. No, I have gloves. It's not like I didn't have gloves. I just chose not to wear them. So then on Tuesday, I'm like, man, I got to start wearing gloves again, and so I did. But then, and I was emailing, I have an uncle who lives in California who says I'm a moron for living here, and I was emailing back and forth with him.
Well, a guy who lives in California should not be throwing any anyone else.
So he,
state tax rate is.
So I said to him that, I wake up in the morning, I go to the gym, I leave the gym, I go to work, I leave work to go to do my radio show, and then I leave the radio show to go back to work, and then I leave work to go home. So I'm constantly I never get warm. Like I'm always going outside every few hours or a couple hours or whatever it is, and I never got warm the entire time. Today, it was like, what was it? What was the high of today? Did it get up to 10?
It was like 13 and sunny.
Right, yeah.
It felt tough.
People are going to say, we're nuts for this. It felt warm.
It felt nice.
I wasn't wearing gloves. My hands were great. I didn't wear anything on my head. It felt great. It felt fantastic.
And tomorrow it's going to be 35, 40. It's going to be, I'm not wearing shorts.
I was reading articles that you have to be careful. There could be a lot of water main breaks. I think Chicago was having this because of the rapid change in temperature. The soil is impacted, and then the pipes can't take it. I also saw in Chicago they were lighting the Amtrak rails on fire to keep them from freezing. Never saw that before. That is crazy stuff.
It is.
Little bit of a somber note. I felt like we should mention this tonight. I started playing fantasy football in the early 90s, right when one Wade Wilson was sort of ending his career. And I drafted him in a couple of spots a couple of times. He never did much for me. And I should mention that he passed away today. It was Wade Wilson's 60th birthday today. Passes away. And I don't know the cause of death or anything like that. Obviously, 60 years, much too young for him to go by the wayside. And I certainly want to send thoughts and well wishes to Wade Wilson. And normally I don't make a big deal out of something like this, but it's a fantasy football show. I do remember him drafting right when I started playing fantasy football. So it's just weird to see, and certainly it's weird. Super Bowl weekend, dude dies right on his 60th birthday. Crazy stuff. So hopefully his family, friends, all doing as well as they can be in this difficult time. I want to thank Football Guys, Roto World, Roto Pass, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Speaking of those Cowboys, Dave, ESPN's Todd Archer has reported that they are not going to extend Jason Garrett's contract heading into the final year of his deal. Adam Schefter actually put that out on Twitter. He is now on the hot seat officially, and this is a guy that we thought would be fired a few times over now, but Jerry Jones always kept him on. Now, what's interesting about this, Dave, is Kellen Moore has been promoted to the offensive coordinator for Dallas. I believe he is 29 years old. Kellen Moore, former Boise State quarterback. I barely remember him, ever exiting the playing arena to the coaching arena. And John Kitna, another former quarterback, is now the Cowboys head coach. Does not have any NFL coaching experience. Quarterback's coach for Dallas. Sorry, did I say head coach?
Yeah, this is in 2020 ball.
He was, he was the head coach for some high school teams, but he hasn't had any NFL coaching experience.
That's hilarious. So John Kitna was coaching in high school.
Right. They pulled him out of high school. He's now the quarterback's coach for Dallas. Kellen Moore, 29-year-old Kellen Moore is the OC. And Jason Garrett's not having his contract extended. This has,
this is a Sean McVay effect, going to Dallas.
Maybe. But, this, to me, has 6-10, 7-9 written all over it. I like Ezekiel Elliott next year, but, man, now I'm having second thoughts about the Cowboys offense in general. This, we could call a dumpster fire before it actually, the lighter fluid is on it. It's all soaked with gasoline, but nobody's lit that match yet. And
it's like an Amtrak.
Exactly. That match won't be lit maybe until the start of the 2019 season, but you think fantasy owners are better off looking elsewhere at the point where Elliott, Cooper, and Prescott are going in drafts?
I don't think so. I know these guys are new on the scene, but these are the talent of the players. Cooper actually redeemed himself as a decent player once he escaped the Raiders. Prescott, I continually will say Prescott's underrated, and it's due to the offensive line, due to Elliott. And Prescott has some good talent himself. He's a good ball player, and I think he'll again mature and grow a little bit this next year. I think the Cowboys are fine to have on their team. I don't. Beasley's going to be gone, so I'm curious as to see. Does Gallup take that next step? Is there somebody else who comes in? There's a couple guys at the Senior Bowl who actually would be good slot receivers for the Cowboys. I wonder if either of those get drafted.
Hunter Renfrow caught the winning touchdown a couple years ago in the national championship game.
East Alexander or something like that?
That sounds familiar, but
he had a really good game. He might actually try and play on the outside, but I forgot his name.
Mari Cooper going at the 309 in FFPC drafts, the same ADP as one Stephon Diggs. I think I might rather have Diggs than Cooper there at that spot. Then it gets a little bit interesting after Amari Cooper goes A.J. Green, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Kenny Galladay, the next four receivers off the board after Cooper. Obviously, we all know Ezekiel Elliott is a slam dunk top 5 pick in ADP right now. Let's move on and talk about the Carolina Football Panthers. Ron Rivera saying that Cam Newton has already shown marked improvement in a Thursday interview from the Charlotte Observer. The quote from Rivera, "I was there on one of his recovery days when he was working out, and one of the things he did say was that he has gotten a lot of range of motion back." Newton's operation, according to Rivera, was as minimally invasive as possible, Dave. And I think this whole Cam Newton might miss the 2019 season. It's all much ado about nothing. I think this guy is going to be loaded and ready to go, and he might not miss very much time in training camp in the preseason as well.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I'm kind of a big Cam fan, and I feel pretty good about him again this year. Coming up, I really do.
And by that transitive property, you also probably like Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore. We'll have to see what happens with tight end. I think Greg Olsen's going to be back. I think Ian Thomas could be an interesting guy to grab at the end of your draft, given Greg Olsen's proclivity for being hurt the last couple of years. And we saw what Thomas did in limited action in Olsen's stead last season. So I think and he's a bit of a pedigree guy. Greg Olsen going at the 11.06 in drafts right now in FFPC. Ian Thomas going at the 12.11. So they are very, very close in ADP.
Very true. And by the way, that receiver's name was Andy Isabella, not Issa Alexander, so it's way wrong.
Yeah, Issa Alexander, I think, is an actor.
UMass wide receiver Andy Isabella. He was 7 for 74 in a score. Supposed to be super.
Oh, in the Senior Bowl he was. Yeah, I remember. He got a lot of looks that game. Yeah. He looked very, very good.
Our friend, what's his name now? Our buddy from Fantasy Football Metrics.
R.C. Fisher.
R.C. Fisher, I think, likes him too.
Okay.
I'm subscribing to his site, and he's been talking about him as a player.
Perhaps that is the Cole Beasley replacement in Dallas.
It could be.
Well, we'll see.
Although Andy Isabella's agent, I did read this, says he's like the next Brandon Cooks, just because he wants to give him a lot of money, get back to really have him play outside.
Exactly, yeah. Well, even if he can't, just the thought that he could.
Right.
That's all. He's planting the seed. Planting the seed. Rob Gronkowski talked about the grind and the up and down nature of the NFL season this past Wednesday, according to NBC Sports Boston. I'm going to read what Gronk said. You tell me if this is a guy who is ready to come back for the 2019 season, Dave. Just try and imagine getting hit all the time and trying to be where you want to be every day in life. It's tough. It's difficult. Abusing your body isn't what your brain wants. I just took 50 collisions, and then like the next day, everyone wants you to be up. They want practice full speed. Next week, they want the game to be full speed, but they don't understand sometimes what players are going through with their bodies, with their minds.
Yeah. How profound.
Very profound, very introspective, and is it very telling of where Gronk is going to be starting week 1 of the NFL season? Can I get a percentage chance from you that he is a Patriot? Not that he's a Patriot, that he is playing in the NFL somewhere and active week 1 of the season.
I'm pretty pessimistic on him coming back. I think 35%.
Okay, let me ask you this. 35% with any team. What's the percentage chance he comes back with New England? Is it also 35%, or does it get a little bit lower?
So I would say that the chances, if he comes back with New England, is probably 80% New England, 80, 90%. I think most, or so like that's 28% total.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so basically, you do not think he's going to be back, but if he does come back, he will be a Patriot, catching passes from Brady.
In my opinion, I mean, who knows? This guy, he is a little flaky. He's a 4-3 flake on our flake scale.
Okay.
Our Jeff flake scale.
Right.
He does have so many other options. He saved a lot of money. He's been really good with his money fiscally, so it sounds like he's in good shape there. I think, he's talked about playing and doing wrestling or acting or whatever, and I think that's a good future for him. So if he wants to do that, go for it.
He is going at the 803 in FFPC drafts right now. I think you would say that is too high. At what point would you be taking Gronkowski if you're drafting right now?
I think the 8th and 9th round isn't bad because, even
for a guy that you think is only a 65% chance of coming back?
Well, if he comes back, there's a chance that he actually could play 12 to 14. He could play all 16 games technically.
Right.
And he still could be a pretty dominant player. I do think it is a little bit on the early side. But, he's not that far removed from a top 3 tight end finish. He does have that potential.
Let me ask you something. Who'd you rather have? Who'd you rather draft, Rob Gronkowski or your boy Chris Herndon?
In
redraft.
I'd probably lean Herndon.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It's just crazy to hear out loud. I don't know if I agree with you, but I certainly can't say I vehemently disagree with you.
I really like Herndon a lot. I got to tell you. Really.
Rob Gronkowski or the guy who apparently is going to be back in Green Bay, Jimmy Graham?
I'll take one.
And Rob Gronkowski or Greg Olsen?
I'll take Olsen, and then I'll take the Olsen with Ian Thomas is such a nice pair. You grab him in the 16th round.
Well, but I'm just saying in ADP right now, Olsen's going at the 1106. Ian Thomas is actually going in the very next round in the 12th. So
that's fine, 11 and 12.
So you go back to back with them. Yeah. Best ball makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Saquon Barkley was named the Pepsi NFL Rookie of the Year according to NorthJersey.com. Barkley bested Baker Mayfield. This was a fan vote that he won the prize. Now, Barkley was the number 2 overall pick. He had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, 15 touchdowns, and his offense was no bueno. During the NFL Honors event tomorrow night, the Offensive Rookie of the Year award awarded by the Associated Press is going to be given. We'll see if he wins it over Mayfield. You had an impassioned tweet about the number 1 overall pick being Saquon Barkley, and how you thought, hey, wait a minute, why not Christian McCaffrey over Barkley?
I can totally see the point for Barkley, and that's fine. However, having said that, in the last, 6 or 7 weeks of the season, I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe McCaffrey outscored Barkley by 7 points a game. That's not nothing. 7 points a game is a lot. I think McCaffrey averaged, again, I'm just throwing numbers out there, around 30 points a game, and Barkley averaged around 23. Those are both great.
Right.
And the argument, I think you and I talked about this, that, Cam was dumping it off because he couldn't run, his back was hurt all the time, this and that. McCaffrey's a playmaker. He is.
Yeah.
Barkley is a very, very good player as well, and I think he's a playmaker as well. I don't know. When a player, McCaffrey, just set the running back all-time receptions record for a single season, breaking LT's record.
Yeah.
that is something that you can't just dismiss because Barkley is the second coming of Jesus Christ or whoever your deity is.
Allah.
Exactly. So I think that a case can be made.
Justin Trudeau.
I think a case can be made for CMC being a higher scoring player with a higher floor. I think it's undisputable that he has a higher floor than Barkley on a week-to-week basis.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Can we throw the narrative?
I don't say though that I will take. I mean, if I had the one pick, I probably would take Barkley.
Okay.
So if I had 3 teams, I'd probably take 2 Barkley, 1 McCaffrey.
Can we say this? Can we say that the narrative or a reason not to take Barkley next season is because he doesn't play on a very good offense? Can we throw that out the window? Or is that still viable?
What do you mean?
He did not play on a very good offense this year. He crushed it. Now, for anybody who's saying, I wouldn't take Barkley over, let's say, Todd Gurley, or let's say, who's another good example? I guess you can use McCaffrey. You could say that, I don't like Barkley as much as those guys because Barkley doesn't play on a very good offense.
Well, it's true. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, you would regress towards the mean, which would be an improvement, of course, technically. But what are they improving? What have they improved? What's better? If you draft a rookie quarterback for a place, Eli, well, is he going to be better? Is it the next Josh Rosen going to be better? Is the next any rookie going to be better?
But my point is, if you're having a conversation with somebody about the number 1 overall pick, they can't, and they're saying, I don't want to take Barkley first overall, and you say, why? For them to say it's because he doesn't play on a very good offense, that is no longer a valid reason, given he did not play on a good offense this last year and was unbelievably awesome.
You know,
or is there still some merit to that?
I think saying he's unbelievably awesome is a little bit.
Well,
he was very good.
I think he was better than very good.
Okay, I mean, I don't think he was unbelievably awesome.
For that offense, I thought he was.
But now you're qualified. You just said he was unbelievably awesome.
Okay, well then maybe I misspoke. But I think for a running back in his situation last year, what he did was pretty insanely incredible. Now that's another qualifier. He was unbelievably awesome in that situation and insanely incredible.
So you can make the funny thing is you can make a lot of these cases interestingly different. Let's just say
interestingly different. Look at this adverb-adjective action we got going on tonight.
I swear, if my Hemingway app was looking at this, it would be striking everything. So, like, if you all of a sudden took Barkley and somehow traded him to the Chiefs,
right?
What would you say? Holy crap, he's got the best offense in football.
I see what you're saying.
Holy crap!
Okay.
Now, wait, we have Tyreek Hill. Kelsey's got to get fed, and Sammy Watt's foot somehow healed. Right. You know, if you're the only guy on the biggest piece of crap team in football, and you actually have a somewhat okay offensive ground, you know, the Giants did have ODB most of the year.
Yeah, they did.
So I don't know. I mean, he's a great ball player. I think he's going to be fine.
Okay.
But keep in mind that, you know, sophomore year, second year, sometimes running backs fall off the map. They have bad years.
Sophomore slumps, sure.
There is a sophomore slump. I mean, McCaffrey beat that. He actually did much better as a second-year player than as a first-year player. And he actually looked physically different, I thought, coming into his second year than he did his first year. Barkley, I don't think he got much more rocked up.
No, it's going to be tough.
I got to tell you, he's in pretty darn good shape.
Go from sequoias to giant sequoias for those thighs. That's
he's amazing. He's a great running back.
Speaking of rocked up, let's get to our next guest on the show tonight.
Now, this guy is rocked up.
I believe he is in between state compliance meetings right now, trying to keep the FFPC active. I'm certainly very appreciative for him carving out some time in his schedule tonight. Please welcome
Steve Brubaker?
Steve Brubaker, one of the co-founders of the Fantasy Football Players Championship, Alex Kaganovsky. It is the prognosticator joining us on the airwaves once again. Prognosticator, how's it going, man?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me. It's been exactly a year, I think, since the last time I spoke to you on this show.
Yeah. Well, usually you can't be bothered. We don't want to bother you.
It's sort of like a lot of these hosts on Saturday night, and I'll try to keep this Saturday Night Live thing quick because I know how Dave's affection for it.
Yep.
But thank you very much. It's a lot of these hosts that have been coming back that I haven't hosted in like 15 or 20 years. The joke and the monologue is always like, yeah, the last time I hosted the show was 1994, and I did so good, they just brought me back in 2018, which is sort of like what we do with you every single year. We always like having you on when we talk Super Bowl prop bets, and this year is no different. I felt something interesting with all these other states passing sports betting. It's not just Vegas that you can make these bets anymore. I mean, you can do it legally in a lot of states across the country. So there's a whole new wave of bettors that can get involved, that can start placing these prop bets legally. And obviously they don't have a wealth of experience of how to do it properly. I think that before we get into the actual prop bets, I would love if you could offer some tips and how to not only make prop bets enjoyable for the Super Bowl, but how to make them profitable. Alex, can you share your insight on that?
Sure. And for those who, I guess I could start, for those who don't know me and why I got this wonderful nickname, I've been betting props probably for close to 20 years, and I think about 15 years ago, or was it, maybe 12 years ago or something like that, I was on Scott Adkins' podcast and on a regular basis, and we used to do this segment with the props, with the prop betting, and so I have had experience, I guess, is my point. I don't think I'm an expert at it by any means. I'm certainly not going to call myself a guru, but I do have experience, and I do have quite a bit of it. And I guess I could say I have a pretty.
Can I interrupt you quick?
Say again?
Were you can I interrupt you real quick? Were you the original Vegas Whisperer?
The original Vegas what?
On Twitter, the Vegas Whisperer. On Twitter, I hear Scott out a lot of times. Scott Atkins is touting Vegas Whisperers. It's this betting site. Anyway, I kind of digress. I'll let you go ahead.
No, I don't know. I don't know who Vegas Whisperer is.
All right, go on.
I guess my point is, what I wanted to say is I have a little bit of a track record, but I think the one thing that anyone who wants to get into the prop betting, and I'm speaking strictly for prop betting. I mean, if you want to be if you want to bet on sports, that's not what I'm not here to tell you how to do that. But as far as props goes, if you want to bet on it during the course of the year, if you want to, not just the Super Bowl, you want to do that on a regular basis. There's definitely some rules to that game, and if you follow those rules, I think you could definitely increase your chance of being successful. But the best rule I could give, or the best advice I could give to people, especially fantasy players, is you're not special. And what I mean by that is you're not special, because just because you know projections, just because you know fantasy, and maybe you've done really well in season long, FFPC, wherever, DFS, just because you've won some leagues and you could project and, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't mean it's going to translate into you winning props or knowing what a good bet is. So I'm not special either, and neither are you. And I think that attitude and I think, no, but I'm serious. I think that attitude is going to save you money, and it's going to allow you to be on the right side.
I agree with you, actually. Alex, I know you're going to maybe give a few ground rules. I might break one of your, I might spoil one of your ground rules here. I wasn't actually there. I'm going to tell a little quick story. I think my buddy Kurt was there, and I just said, it was in TI a number of years ago, and we were betting on the Chiefs over for season-long wins. And the line was like 130 or whatever it was. And you were like, I never lay more than 135. I never. And you're like, swearing up, and I'm like, no, whatever, I don't care. So I give Kirk $500 because the TI had the best line. I'm like, hey, bet it at minus 130 on the Chiefs to go over 8 wins or whatever it was. So he bets it, and he gets to take it back. And you were right after him, and you had this big wad of cash, and you walked up to the guy, and you're like, what's the line of the Chiefs? He's like, it just moved to minus 140 or 150, and you just took your money and you put it right back in your pocket and you walked. So you believe those rules, buddy. I'm telling you that Kurt was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even bet anything on it.
That's fantastic. I don't know if I've ever heard that story before. Alex, is that true?
Yep, that happened. That happened exactly the way you described it. I don't know exactly what the odds were, but yeah, that's exactly what happened. But that goes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So that is, I guess, rule number one. And, there's no particular order. I'm not, I don't have them written in front of me, so I'm just going to shoot them off, just off the top of my head. But I guess that could be rule number one, and at least for me. Rule number one for me is never lay more than a certain amount of wood. So whether it's 30 cents, 35, 40, whatever you feel comfortable with. For me, it was always around the 30, 35 cent area. I never wanted to lay more than that. So I think that's important. Yeah. And also, on that note, I think you should also always be aware of the spread. So what the spread is, for those who may not know, is, when you look at the line, let's say, the Rams are favored by 2.5, minus 10 cents. And I'm not the Rams, I'm sorry. The Patriots are favored by 2.5, minus 10 cents. and coming back around, it's the Rams half, also minus 10 cents. So the spread on that bet is 50 cents. Typically, on prop bets, the spread is a little bit higher. But sometimes, depending on what site you're on, they raise the spread even higher than what the normal spread should be. So to me, a decent spread is 30 cents. I think once you go past start to go higher than 30 cents into the 40-cent range, you should be looking for a different site. So that's a really good rule of thumb. Now the spread starts to vary once it starts to go higher. So like once it goes to minus 180 on one side, it doesn't go to minus 140 on the other side. So the spread does start to open up as it starts to go up. But generally speaking, for like the regular bets, you don't want the spread to be more than about 30 cents.
That's actually really good advice, because you see that a lot of times. It'll be like, Edelman receptions, let's say 6.5, minus 115 over, minus 115 under. But if you see like minus 130, and then plus 110 or something in the other direction, I guess.
Well, it would be minus 130, minus 110 is a good example of a bad spread.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was going the wrong one. Sorry, you're right. Sorry. See, I'm so stupid.
Yeah, and I'll give you a real life example of that. So my buddy and I, who we do a lot of these prop bets, especially at this time of the year. He's kind of in this industry, I guess. Keep in mind, I'm in New York, so the industry. The only way we could get in get these plays in is kind of like the offshore industry, right? So anyway, so I told him to get a few accounts for us.
You mean Long Island?
Long Island, yeah.
Long Island.
Yeah. So anyway, I told him, I said, get us a couple of accounts open so that we could peruse through the prop bets and see what we could find, and obviously not just open accounts, but make sure they have high enough accounts, since we're splitting the bets half and half anyway, and plus we like to kind of go a little bit heavy on the Super Bowl. So anyway, so he found this one account, and I started looking at it, and I'm looking at the spread. I'm like, I go to him, what the heck's going on? What's wrong with this site that you got? The spread was 60 cents. 60 cents. and I had this was specifically done. The guy who set up the account for him knew what he was doing. He kind of probably thought that maybe he was dealing with somebody who slightly sharper, and he basically he's like, listen, if I'm going to give an account to a guy who's sharp, I'm going to raise the spread. Because I had another account on the same exact site where the spread was much lower. It was regular. It was about 30-cent spread. So anyway, long story short, with the spread, be careful. Don't get caught in the spread.
Right. That's
good
advice.
That's actually a really good deal.
Let's get into some of the props. I had written some down. Just now I looked at what the Westgate Superbook had available, and I did not go through all 1,000 of them or whatever it was, but I did peruse through a few of them. Some of them stood out to me, and we'll just kind of go through these one by one. You can offer some analysis on why you like it or why you don't like it, or maybe offer some that you like too. I think if you look at the first down total, while the Rams have been in control of that, this is the team to get the most first downs. The Rams actually have, I think it was like 36 or 37 more first downs on the season. But since Josh Gordon was out, New England has really switched to this sort of ball control offense where they're focused on moving the chains with James White, with Julian Edelman, with Sony Michel. And second half of the season, it's been completely different. New England's really been dominant in that category. So I really like New England to get more first downs than the Rams in the Super Bowl, Alex.
Okay, so I really like your analysis, and I'm totally not going to argue with it. I'm not going to argue with it to the point that I'm going to say that I'm going to completely lay off that bet if I was to look at it. And it's totally fine. I think your analysis is, I'm not, being facetious. It's good analysis. But to me, I look at a play like that, that's a game prop, right? That's not really a player prop, that's a game prop, which is fine. Game props are inbounds as well. But game props are generated by basically the line makers taking millions of statistics and analyzing them over the course of, thousands of games, and just coming up with basically with an average, and then applying them, setting a line to them, and then saying, okay, well, here it is. Which side do you want? Now, of course, you can analyze it, and you could kind of handicap it, and you just did. But to me, there's, that's not a bet that that's not a bet that I could probably correctly handicap to my liking. So I would say lay off a bet like that.
The James White one, over 53.5 receiving yards. The only thing that would give me pause on this to say the under is the fact that, to me, it just seems like it's a slam dunk over, and oftentimes the slam dunks, they don't always work out as slam dunks.
They're baiting you
and you know what? Successfully, because that's one I would be looking at here. What about the James White receiving over or under 53.5?
Okay, so that's a really interesting one, because when that prop opened up, when Westgate and Pinnacle and all these, the big sites first announced the player props, I believe Pinnacle had them at 44.5 and 44.5 total receiving yards. Yeah, so that started getting crushed. I believe if you look at Pinnacle now, I think it's minus 200 on the over. So you have to lay 2-1 to take over 44. Interestingly enough, they haven't moved it. So you could still, if you want to lay minus 200 and go against, the theory that I talked about, you could still do it. Now, other sites, the ones that maybe didn't open as early as Pinnacle and Westgate, when they opened it, they opened around 51, 52, 53. So at that point, that's when I kind of stepped in and I started looking at it for myself, and I saw a line. I think the one that I liked the most was about 54.5 under plus 20 cents. And to me, that's a line that I like. First of all, I guess so another rule that I have is don't get fascinated by the favorites. Really stay away from as many favorites as possible. So a plus line is your friend. Just because a line is a plus, just because you're getting plus 10, plus 20, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you're the underdog. You're getting the wrong side of the bet. And what I mean by that is a lot of these lines move simply by the way the action is dictated, right? So, if the majority of the people are betting over, well, does that make them right? No, it doesn't make them necessarily right. But the site is moving the line, and then you come in and you look, you take advantage of the other side. So that's how I like to look at it a lot of times. In this particular situation, I think if it was even money, I would probably look at both sides equally. But if I'm seeing plus 20 on the under and I'm seeing like 54.5, I feel like maybe I'm getting an extra yard versus, let's say, what some other sites are offering. I'll take the under plus 20.
I have a fourth quarter lead change, yes or no. The yes getting plus 210 right now. To me, I envision this as a close game. I can see the lead change, but plus 210, it just seems so juicy there. That I really want to play that. Is that one that you'd be comfortable handicapping?
Yeah, so that's one of the game props that I saw on one of the sites that I was examining last week, and when that play caught my eye immediately because I saw it at 250 or 260, and I put it in immediately because I saw the value in that, and again, this is generated the same exact way that I told you about that first down line. It's generated, with just millions of statistics, and I guess, fourth quarter doesn't really have a lot of lead changes, but I still feel that if you're getting enough, almost 3-1 in my case, I feel it's a really good play. I think once it gets down closer to 2-1, then you got to think twice about it, maybe stay off it. But again, if you're getting a favorable line, then I like that.
I think this next one is a statistically generated one, but you look at Stephen Gostkowski having one of the lowest touchback rates for any kicker in the NFL, and Cordarrelle Patterson's willingness to, who's been a Pro Bowl special teamer, his willingness to take the ball, 4, 5, 6 yards deep out of the end zone. I like plus 190 on the opening kickoff being a touchback, the opening kickoff not being a touchback.
That's interesting.
Yeah, can't really comment on that, with an educated analysis. So, you're getting 90 cents and nothing wrong with that.
One of the things that I think has been compelling is you look at a lot of these props involve Todd Gurley, and what we saw was either an underperforming or an under-healthy Todd Gurley in the NFC Championship game. And we're not going to see any action from him until the Super Bowl. So a lot of these props that are out there with his total yardage, total catches, total targets, total, touchdowns, what have you. They're all kind of weird because we don't know what's going to happen. Now, what I've seen, and you and I briefly emailed about this, when Gurley's total for rushing yards came out, I think they set it in the high 60s originally. And then with the stuff I was reading, they said a lot of the sharps bet that down, and I saw as low as 59.5. Like I said, I think that was on FanDuel. I saw that. But you said everywhere you've looked, it's at like 63.5, 64.5. Is there any value in betting the over on that, given that it got bet down so far, or is that one that you're just staying away from because of the Gurley health issue?
Okay, so that's a really good example of the value probably being there early on if you were able to catch it. So I actually got on Gurley, on the over on Gurley when it was at 61.5. I caught it, and as a matter of fact, that same day, like just a little while after I put the over in, it went to 63.5 on the site that I was using. So they started moving it pretty quickly. So I think where it is right now, 63.5, 64. If you've been paying attention, then you probably realize that this is where it's going to stay. Now maybe it's going to move up a little bit right before game time. By the way, another rule: most of these props move quite a bit the day of the game. So if you're betting during the season, lines that you're going to see on Sunday, literally an hour before the game, could be 20, 30 cent difference than the lines that you're seeing early in the week. So, if you're somebody who's kind of looking for that advantage, if you're looking, to try to find that value, the best thing to do is wait right before game time. So 63.5 on Gurley, I think that's probably the right line for it.
Well, the last thing I want to bring up before I turn it over to see if you want to give away any tips for any bettors out there. If I like New England to win this game, I like them to cover as well. Now, if they somehow lose, if somebody is looking to hedge, is it a smart play to hedge with, maybe betting on the Super Bowl MVP Todd Gurley, who's at 10-1 right now, Aaron Donald, who's been, obviously a monster on defense, he's at 18-1. Or if you want to bet win margin, right now 4.5-1 is the Rams winning by between 1 and 4 points. Would you ever recommend hedging for somebody who wants to bet, on the Patriots to cover or Patriots to win or what have you, hedging with any of those bets?
So hedging is a funny term, right? Because when you hedge, you hope to hit both sides at least a little bit. You want to have a chance to hit both sides, but you also want to avoid getting middled, right? Because if you're getting middled, you're not really hedging, So I think in this particular case, I'm not really crazy about that type of a hedge, but I do like the thought of a Gurley MVP. And I actually put it in as soon as I saw on my side. I saw it at 15-1. This was also about middle of last week, and we saw that right away. We put it in, and right now I think if you look around, it's around 9 and 10-1. I've even seen it lower than that. So I think logic dictates that if the Rams win, there's a really strong chance that Gurley could be the guy having the big game. Obviously, it could always be Goff, but it's hard to imagine it not be one of those two where if the Patriots win, no one else is winning the MVP except for Tom Brady. I think we all know that.
Yeah, that's a really good bet. I like that because Gurley, he could easily go for 130 and 2 touchdowns, and boom, there you go.
Right.
4 catches.
And Jared Goff has not been the same quarterback since Cooper Kupp went down too. So I know Alex, I don't know your thoughts on this, but the Jared Goff over or under 2.5 touchdowns, I've heard nobody say the over on that all week. Everybody I've been listening to is take the under on that.
Okay, that may very well be, but what is
What's the line?
Yeah, what's the line? So I
know.
think you may be getting like plus 70 or something like that on the over 2.5. And I can't, I must have won this year and over the years, I mean, many times, but just this year because I can remember that far, I must have won at least 10 prop bets on quarterbacks where I either took the under or the over and getting like 65, 70, or 80 cents, and sometimes even 2 to 1. I believe it was Drew Brees, where I took I think it was under 2.5. Drew Brees was like one of those crazy games, and he only had like 1 touchdown, and I think I ended up getting like 80 cents. I forget what it was, but the point is yeah, if you're getting 70 or 80 points, and it's a realistic achievement that the player could get to, I love that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Can you tell us if there's any other props out there that you're already locked in on and you don't have to worry about you moving the line with the millions of listeners that are going to, bet immediately after listening? Is there any bets that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, there's one actually that I put in also a few days ago, and I looked at it again today, and it moved significantly. And so whenever I see that, obviously it reinforces. I look at myself in the mirror and I, pat myself on the shoulder, tell myself how smart I am.
That doesn't help us out at all. That doesn't help us.
So anyway, it was Patriots touchdown any other than passing. So that means that the one side is the first touchdown is a passing touchdown, and the other side is any other touchdown other than passing. So I guess that could be rushing or special teams. And I got plus 227 on that, which I thought was pretty good. I said, I get that passing touchdown is definitely the favorite, but getting almost 2.5 to 1 I thought was really good odds. And today, when I looked at it again on that same site, it was down to plus 150. So I thought that was in good shape.
Wow,
so,
nice score.
That seems about right, 150.
Yeah, I do think that seems about right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Sony Michel angle, think about pass interference in the end zone or anything like that. I mean, and Sony Michel's been great. James Devlin's been a great goal line back, too. I mean, they've been very successful. Tom Brady could sneak it in. Who knows?
He does do that.
All I know is that they won't be throwing it to Tom Brady after last year's debacle.
Alex, I do have one question. I'm not sure how much of a fan you are of last night, but the over-under for the Star Single Band is about 1:47 or 1:50, depending on where you're at. Do you think last night's going to run long, or is it going to be on the under?
So a minute 46. I believe Pinnacle had it 108 seconds. What is that? That's 1:48, right?
Yeah, 1:48. Yep.
Alex knew this.
Yep.
He didn't know. I didn't know you were going to know this question.
No, dude. I've been studying the Super Bowl bets props. I spent a lot of time on, so I could kind of back up, what I claim to know.
Well, I know his business has been slipping the last week, so I kind of get it.
So 100. I think so. Pinnacle. The reason why I refer to Pinnacle all the time, it's kind of like the gold standard of the offshore. So if you ever want to look something up, like, by the way, so another rule: if you live in a state where you have access to various sportsbook, the more sportsbook you have access to, the more you should all use them. And the reason why is because unlike sports betting, where the line is going to be pretty steady on NFL, like college football, it moves, college basketball, it moves quite a bit, but prop betting, it's going to move quite a bit as well. So it's always good to have several bets. And then what I do is I have my gold standard, which is kind of the Westgate. The Westgate is the gold standard. Online Pinnacle is the gold standard. So you if you're not sure, if you see a line and you want to kind of check it to see if the side that you're looking at is the value side, check it against Pinnacle or check it against Westgate, and see what that looks like. So that's something that I do quite a bit.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% on that. That shop around for sure makes a lot of sense. You know what? Getting back to the little Gladys Knight thing.
What did you like? Over under on Gladys Knight?
Yeah.
I was.
You're a politician. Don't waffle.
No, that's not. That is. I can tell you that a few years ago we got a tip. My buddy and I got a tip on the Star Spangled Banner, and because we know some people. Being in New York, you kind of sometimes know someone who knows someone who knows something about something. And that was the case when the person who was singing it, I can't remember who it was, but they said it's guaranteed to go under. There's no doubt about it. This is a quick singer. It's staying under. And we put that in. So I think that's really the only time I would bet it. I would do something like that. It's kind of similar, Dave, to that Stephon Ridley tip that I got a few years back. Remember that?
I've been trying to forget it.
Did he do numbers that year? I don't know if he did numbers that year.
He did numbers.
He told me I saw.
Yeah, he did numbers. Because the two schools of thought I've heard with the Gladys Knight thing is like, oh, she's totally old school, so she's going to keep it tight, get it over with. It's not a pomp and circumstance thing. Then I also heard she's 70 years old. It's going to take a long time for her to get this song out. So I don't know. I wouldn't know how to bet that one at all.
I wouldn't know what we're doing for the Super Bowl if we are doing anything.
Yeah, I have no idea. There was another. I was listening to Sirius XM this morning. I think it was Craig Mish and Jim Bowden were talking with. I can't remember who. Somebody from VEASAN maybe. I can't remember. But somebody asked Todd Gurley yeah, but I mean they're like sisters. Yeah, but they had a lot of VEASAN guys on this week. But they stated that somebody on Instagram asked Todd, or maybe it was Twitter, asked Todd Gurley what his favorite Gatorade was that he likes, and Gurley put out on Twitter like, Ice Punch for sure, or something like that, which is clear. And you can bet on the color of Gatorade that will be dunked on the coach, trying to get some inside info. And Gurley's like, well, I don't know what they're going to have out there, but this is my favorite, So then that's another inside info for anybody who's on Twitter can get that info.
Right.
Alex, listen, this has been great. Is there anything that parting words of advice for any novice bettors or some experienced bettors that you would give to them on Super Bowl weekend?
Well, so everything I said kind of probably goes out the window if you just want to, put in a couple of plays and just want to have a good time. I mean, if you're just, if you find 2, 3, 4, 5 plays and you just want to put them in, it doesn't really matter if you're getting, 5 cents more, 5 cents less. You're just having a good time, right? But I think if you're going to be doing this and you're actually going to have expectations of winning, I think you got to do it right. And also, my suggestion would be the more prop plays you put in, the more prop plays you could find that you like, the better that I found my odds were. So, like on a typical week, in some of the years that I used to put in weekly props, I would put in between 30 and 50 props on the afternoon games, and maybe like another 15 to 20 in the 4 o'clock games. So the more you could find that you like.
Regular season. Wow.
In the regular season, correct. In the regular season.
That's a lot.
So during the course of a Sunday, including the Sunday night game, I could have sometimes over 80 props. And I felt like if I go, because I bet so many that I was getting a plus, plus 15, plus 20, plus 50, and because I would hit them with some consistency. Even if I went 50, if I had a 50% win rate. Oh, and also because I didn't lay as much wood, I didn't lay those minus 70s and minus 80s. So I felt like even if I had a 50% win rate, I would still come out ahead. So that's my final advice is, bet as many as you can. Don't be afraid to bet a lot if you're betting smart.
See, Alex, this actually goes right into a question that Aces Rebels has in the chat room. And he's talking about the Super Bowl in general, or in particular, I should say. he was wondering the quantity of prop wagers you made in the Super Bowl over the years. Is it a constant number, or is it changing? Have you been betting more Super Bowl props over the years, or you kind of tailored it back a little bit, or where are you at in the Super Bowl?
For the Super Bowl, I have no particular amount because they keep making more and more. You know, they could putting out as many as they could think of. So when I see one that I like, I'm going to put it in. And if there's 100 of them that I see that I like, I'm going to put in 100. But if there's only 20, I'm only going to put in 20.
So in other words, if there's only 20 likes, you're going to take that big fat stack of Ben Franklin's and you're going to put it right back in your pocket. You're like, I'm not laying 140.
That's exactly right. And by the way, stay away from all of that nonsense about like what is the winning the Edelman is going to catch between 61 and 70 yards, or the winning margin is going to be between 10 and 15, or 15 and 20. You know what that's like? That's like playing the wheel in the casino. It's like that big wheel. That's what you're doing. It's playing the wheel. It's the worst odds ever. You see those? Just scroll right down past those.
All right, I like that. That's you know what? That right there, in and of itself, is worth the price of admission, which is $0. But I mean, seriously, it's like that is. A lot of people bet that. They're like, I could see the Patriots winning by X to this, but it's like it's such a small window. It isn't. It's like going to the carnival and trying to hit the midway, hit the balloons 3 in a row, get the ZZ Top mirror, and all of a sudden it's not the big mirror, and you want the bigger one, and all of a sudden where's the stuffed animal, and you get screwed. Yeah.
Just stay away from those. Stick to and plus those don't have lines that move. So maybe I just thought of a rule of thumb: stick to the lines that move. Okay, so if one side can move and the other side can move, then those are the plays that you want to look at.
Great stuff. Good advice. The last 45 plus minutes have been chock full of great Super Bowl prop betting advice. You follow him on Twitter at Alex_FFPC. He is the prognosticator, joining us every year on Super Bowl weekend to offer some tips and tricks for those of you wanting to get a little action on the game. Can we get a final prediction on the game from you, Alex? Final score, winner?
I'm a Giants fan, but I'm a secret Belichick and Brady fan as well. Also because we beat them. We beat them both times, so I don't feel I need to hate them. So I'm secretly rooting for both of them. So my prediction is they win.
Last question, I promise. Aces Rebels wants to know, have you ever bet on any in-game prop wagering? I would imagine if there's any in-game props, they'd be available in the Super Bowl. Have you ever taken advantage of that? No,
I haven't gotten into those. I think that's a little too hectic for me. I'm not sure if I'm into that. Maybe that's the new kind of the new generation. Everything needs to happen fast. I kind of like to sit back and just look at stuff.
Yeah, once the game kicks off, you want to cut the tip off the cigar, pop open the 24-year-old scotch.
Right. Yep.
Put it in the thing with no ice and be done with it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way we'll all be doing it.
And then get on the skis and go down the hall, baby.
Yeah, smoking a cigar and drinking the single malt that comes up. Yeah. Alex, man, this has been fun. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday, man.
All right, you too. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Al.
Alex Gostkowski, co-founder of the FFPC, the prognosticator. I think that's the most airtime we've ever given him, and let me tell you, it was worth it.
No, you should come on more frequently.
Yeah, we can do
other random crap.
What other random crap?
He knows a lot of stuff.
Well, he does. Other than fantasy football.
Yeah, first of all, he can tell you all
politics, religion.
He can tell you all the bad moves that our competitors are making.
Why would you? It's so not here nor there. It's ridiculous to even bring up.
I'm totally kidding. He can tell you a lot about fantasy.
I'm sure
he doesn't know much about dynasty. He tries not to know a lot about fantasy.
What, on purpose?
Yeah, he doesn't really. He loves our dynasty format. He just doesn't play, so he doesn't try to pretend to know about it.
That's fun. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your supersized HSFF hour this weekend. I want to thank Mike Porreca. I want to thank The prognosticator, Alex Kaganovsky, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob, our mutual friend and producer, and Bryce, our audio engineer. My apologies, guys. I think it's the first time I mentioned you on the show tonight, so thanks for all your hard work. Yes, exactly. Check out those Dynasty Orphans and all those 2019 best ball leagues right now at myffpc.com. We're going to see if we can get a 5 to 6 figure winner on the show next week, Dave. No guests lined up yet. We'll see what happens with the playoff challenge. Good luck to all of you competing in that. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. We'll be back next Friday at 10/9 Central. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Your big game weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next.
You saw the list of the props that I liked. Did you like any of them out of all those ones I listed?
I like the game. I actually do like James White over 50 to 3.5.
The touchback thing, I think you seem to be keen on.
Yeah, that was smart. Plus 190. Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Well, Leo brought up on the show today. He's like, hey, if Zerline's kicking off, that thing's booming through the uprights. You know, but New England normally defers. That's the other thing. You know, so maybe the Rams and. I don't know.
I think they all defer. Don't they all defer?
I guess McVay does quite a bit too. So it's basically who's winning the coin toss.
Yeah, so defer. So in other words,
defer to the second half.
So the opening kickoff touchback is a no for whomever.
There's going to be an opening kickoff. It doesn't matter who's kicking.
All right. So yeah, that's fine. I mean. So in other words, you're saying that if Zerline kicks it, it's for sure a touchback.
That was Leo's argument. My argument was that. If he is still, because he was, on the injury report after, and I wonder if it was, putting some extra leg into that 57-yard field goal. So I don't know.
I gotcha.
Anything else or no?
I think Gurley at 15-1, 10-1, not quite. I mean, even 10-1 is not bad.
Well, I guess that's how it's said there, 9-1, 10-1.
Right 10-1, I mean, it's not bad because it's like, okay, even a 2.5-point dog, so the Rams are maybe, plus 140 to win the game or something like that, plus 150. So if they win the game, that's like a 40% odds. I mean, the odds of Gurley being the MVP are definitely better than, I think they're better than 50-50, or at least they're about 50-50.
Right.
I always have some rough games, but I mean, good God. The guy is a super stud. I think there's probably a 50% chance, 60% chance he goes off this game.
Do you want to guess who had the worst/best odds? I don't know how you want to phrase it, of, who the most likely winner of the Super Bowl MVP award was?
Brady?
Yeah. You know what he was at?
3-1? 2-1.
He was minus 700.
Shut up.
I'm just kidding. He was plus 125.
All right. That's more likely.
Yeah. Well, more likely because it was true. Enjoy the game, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the entire show. We'll be back after the Super Bowl.